So now that we have everyone back to their seats, I believe that I can sufficiently have the audacity to request Dr. Abed, one of the most prominent geneticists that this land has produced, and you might be knowing him for his groundbreaking research in rice production, climate-resilient rice production, and also carbon sequestration in the process, and also personalized healthcare. And I would like him to introduce the subject properly. Dr. Abed.
Thank you. Can you hear me? It's all good? Yeah. So I'd like to introduce you this term bioeconomy, which is a very grand term, which kind of suggests that any living organism that can be used to do something commercial is implied. And this kind of grand name doesn't really bring the focus of where an investor could invest and what would be a meaningful concept. So I think following the trend of the previous set of discussion, which I was sitting and listening with rapt attention, I want to bring some focus and describe a kind of an investor-friendly version of bioeconomy. So roughly, anything that is living is biology, and if you use a living organism to do something commercial, it would be bioeconomy. But I don't want to go into this grand definition. I would rather focus on some, what we would call molecular biology, kind of modern biology economy, as opposed to just bioeconomy. So you can imagine that bioeconomy is a grand term. The geoeconomy would be petroleum because it's geology. Bioeconomy would be just, even rice production could be bioeconomy. But we are not discussing agriculture here. However, we are talking about the modern version of agriculture. So if you sequence the rice genome and find that there is a gene there that promotes allergy, then suddenly you are talking about bioeconomy. If you, similarly for any living organism. So the whole financial footprint of bioeconomy, if you look up the literature, and depending on who you are talking to, is thought to be about 1.5 trillion globally, and is going to become like 5 trillion in 5 to 10 years or something like that. You get this kind of number bandied around. And that constitutes, what does it have? We were talking about the health services before, so the medical aspect of it is very important. But have you noticed that when we talk about health, we are actually talking about disease? We are talking about the absence of health. Most of the health discussion is centered around disease. And so we have a problem in our narrative, actually, because we should be talking about the maintenance of health, not the failure of health. So the maintenance of health, that information is in our DNA. So imagine if I had my DNA sequenced, and if I was only 1 month old, then it could predict whether I'm going to later have metabolic disease or heart disease or all the non-communicable disease. That signature, the genetic and epigenetic signature, is there in our genome. So I would ask the investors to come and invest in genome sequencing in this country. But what you find that if you want to sequence your genome, the DNA, the reagents cost too much, so that is not allowed to come in, and this is why that cannot happen. So this is a big problem. So I want to define in terms of what the moderator was talking about. So there is a genomics, which is the sequencing of all living organisms. Recently, India sequenced 1,000 genome to show the diversity of Indian population. Our population is very diverse. So this is not just the DNA sequence, but how the DNA is packaged, and that field is called epigenetics. So this is genomics, epigenomics, and then there is a transcriptomics, how the gene is expressed, and finally how the DNA sequence become part of digital analysis, and that is bioinformatics. So when we say digital health, we don't mean telemedicine. We don't mean like some kind of app where people will click and doctor will emerge. When we say digital health, we mean the DNA sequencing based assessment, the predictive assessment of disease before it happens. So I think in summary, if I were to define bioeconomy in a modern way, I would say it's DNA based, just to have a focus in it. It has transcriptomics, which is one way of saying how the genes are expressed, or metabolomics, which is the ensemble of all the metabolic small molecules that we have in our disease, and pharmacology is part of it. And then how to do about it is what we want to do, get investment in this country, and this country is eminently capable of handling that kind of investment. So that's how I would define the bioeconomy in the context of Bangladesh. Thank you very much. I want to be very clear about three things I'm going to talk about, so for the sake of simplicity, so these are the take-home message. Number one is 5 harvest rice or panchabrihi. So in a village in Bangladesh, after 20 years of R&D, we developed a rice plant which upon cutting gives 1 harvest, then grows back again and gives the second harvest. And when you harvest that, it grows again and again till it gives its five harvests in 1 year. And this happened in a village in Bangladesh through the R&D via the farmers. And now we have progressed and we know the genes that are responsible. So panchabrihi or 5 harvest rice have now been extended to other crops in multiple harvests. And we are ready for investment, so please connect with me if we want to invest in this. We want to put Bangladesh in the map of agricultural biotechnology because as you can imagine, this is one of the biggest story of contemporary times where we found a very simple genetic control of multiplicity of harvest since the beginning of agriculture. Because the ancient farmers had selected for 1 harvest because they didn't want this crop to grow again, and there is a sociological, anthropological reason for it. So my first message to you is that please invest in this Bangladeshi innovation, which is panchabrihi, which literally means in Sanskrit 5 times rice. Number one. Number two, I am binational, I'm Australian and Bangladeshi, so I was hired by the farmers of New South Wales to do something about methane mitigation. So we sequenced 500 genomes of organisms that live in soil, and then we deployed the deep mind of Google, which is called AlphaFold, where the machine translates everything into protein and gets the protein structure in about 10 minutes in some of the supercomputer back in Seattle in those days. But then Meta came up with a new ESM, they call it, to beat Google. So we deployed the Meta apparatus, and out of it came the solution for methane mitigation from cow. So Bangladesh has very strong footprint of methane mitigation from cattle. During the Qurbani Eid, when all the cattle are congregated in certain areas, we can see the methane emitting from the satellite, from Tropomi 5. So we need to, increasingly we are asked to mitigate this, and I had a very nice chat with the livestock advisor, Farida Akhtar, and she's very supportive. So please invest on this one. This is going to be Australia, Bangladesh enterprise, and even some of the earlier money was given by Sergey Brin and his wife, the owner of Google, and also Mark Benioff of Salesforce. They have kind of triggered this work. But this work is now available. If some Bangladeshi group of consortium would come, I have been told and designated the fundraiser, so please connect with me if you want to invest in this key technology, which will have the name of Bangladesh in it as well. Number three, my name has been suggested as part of Genofax. So to make a long story short, I'm co-founder and chief scientist of Genofax, and our goal is to sequence everything and do predictive medicine. So we want to genome sequence the baby that is just born today and predict its chance of getting different diseases, non-metabolic, metabolic diseases, as well as mental health profiling, and then create a trajectory from infanthood so that they don't have to encounter these diseases. So this is whole predictive DNA-based, you can call it digital medicine in the highest sense of being digital. And that is also up for business. We are raising money. My co-founder is here, Jahangir Alam from Australia. And we are active in Bangladesh. We are active in the West Coast in the US and also in Australia. So please connect with me for any of these three. Then your last question is, why isn't it happening? I would say it is happening. It is happening. It started yesterday. There was the most exciting day where we heard of people like Abed CHAUDHURY and Lutfi Siddiqui. And I must say, ever since I left Bangladesh at the age of 22 and come back repeatedly, but I have never encountered people of this ilk, if I may say so. So there's a whole new breed. There's a whole new breed of people. I think it's a cliche to say a Nobel laureate is I don't want to overuse this term, Nobel laureate in every word, but what is significant is there's a team there. So coming from Farida Akhtar, who is an activist, to Jahangir, Dr. General Jahangir, who is the agriculture advisor, very good discussion I had with him. I think the whole team is ready for business. Things are happening, and I would say, Jay, please give this government a chance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.